It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
So folks, he's going to have almost $10 million to deal with as a budget. He's our newly elected mayor, Jeff Cusat, and he has a challenge ahead of himself in 2016. What are we going to do for the city, the greater Hazleton area, for the city residents? Jeff, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And congratulations on your winning.
Thank you.
It's going to be a challenge, as we talked about. $10 million budget. The city of Hazleton, Jeff, is, we have great people here, as you know. You won by, I think, close to 49% of the vote, which was a directive, people saying, we like your ideas. We're going to support you by winning. Now, the challenges that you're looking for, what are some of the key challenges that you're going to be facing?
Well, the biggest challenge facing the city is revenue. We're just short revenue. The mayor asked for an increase in taxes and a stormwater fee and an increase in EIT tax, and all three were pulled out of the current budget. So we're going to be facing some issues. I mean, right now, I'm looking at finishing 2015 about $500,000 to $600,000 in the red, which is going to carry over till next year. And I'm afraid that the new budget that was passed on first reading could put us further into trouble.
Now, Jeff, recently I read in your transition team, yes, in the Standard Speaker, our media partners. And I have to tell you, I mean, the people you have listed there are very impressive. And I'm very happy to see that you've reached out to outsourcing, and because we don't have all the answers, okay? Let's talk about that transition team. What is it, how much is that going to mean to you in transitioning over to becoming the mayor in January?
Well, I have a team of about 12 people that are very intelligent. They're from local communities. I have some people that come in from New Jersey, Philadelphia, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre Township. You know, so I got somebody in every aspect of the government to help us sit down and discuss things. You know, I brought somebody in that worked with community development, parking, police, fire, you know, code. So we're very well-rounded as a team overall.
The people that you brought in, okay, and you're looking for input, all right, it doesn't mean that you have to accept everything they say, but the mere fact that you've set these people up, how much of an influence will that be in your decision-making for next year?
Well, it's a good tool to have. You know, when 12 people get in the room that know, you know, what has worked and what hasn't worked in other municipalities, you know, their input has a little more, you know, meaning than somebody just off the street or just making a guess.
Have you met with them so far?
Oh, I met a few times. Yeah, we meet almost every.
So when they came in, are they all together or is it separately?
We've had a few meetings with just the legal side, a couple with just the law enforcement side. Mm-hmm. You know, then I met with the code and that separately. Then we've all met together. You know, it's tough to get 12 people together, yeah, donating their time. Yeah. You know.
The interesting thing about this, and hopefully I'm correct in saying this, you put this together without an agenda. You just put it together objectively and saying, come in and tell me what should be done, or these are my ideas, adhere to them.
No, I'm open to suggestions. I went in, I said, this is things I would like to do. I've spoken to them before I ran and asked them, you know, can these ideas work? I pulled ideas from their cities and municipalities. Then we sat down, we all kind of discussed how to make those things work or how they need to be tweaked. And, you know, so I'm going to hopefully get enough advice from everybody to, you know, move forward.
Jeff, in our business, in the communication business, I always like to emulate people who are successful, okay, because they're successful in communications. And thank the good Lord, since 1994, we've been able to do that, and didn't listen to naysayers, listened to positive people who had no personal agendas. So are there any cities that you have in mind that are role models that you'd like to emulate that have been successful, similar to what we have in our city?
The city as a whole, I've looked at a few, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton is the majority of the help that I've gotten in the aspect of the smaller departments. So we're going to pull some parts out, like Scranton's Parking Authority solicitor is helping me. So all the ideas that they've been using, I could listen to them. I got the solicitor from one of the Wilkes-Barre up there, and that would count, an old former county solicitor. So ideas that have impact on our area.
When you ran, you were on my show twice, and you brought a lot of interesting points about what you wanted to do. So moving forward, when you brought those points up on my show and you said, this is what I want to do, blah, 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 the majority of people said, well, I think I like these ideas, and they voted for you and they put you in as mayor. However, you become a mayor, you have to work with council, okay? And sometimes that may become a concern. How do you intend to work with council next year?
I don't think it'll be as bad as people think it is. The majority of them that are going to be there next year are there now with me now. Our communication wasn't that bad. I have different ideas of revenue and expenses than they do. Different concepts of business. So I don't think it's going to be as bad as people think they are. They're not stubborn. We could sit down and talk, and we just got to work each other's ideas out.
Jeff, you've been a successful businessman. You started from scratch in many areas. And you've been able to build a business by communicating with people and working with people. So you have to work with people, okay? And council is going to be very important to you. Do you think, and you said it's not as bad as people think it is, and which is great. Do you think they're going to be receptive to your ideas and your proposals?
Certain ideas that I think they may go along with. A lot of the ideas that I brought up last year were rejected and denied. So some of those, I guess I need a little more influence to help push those through. But we're just going to keep trying to move the city forward.
The makeup of council is going to change next year, correct?
Correct.
So John Keegan goes off. You have 3 members of the council that will be voting on the next member of council, correct?
There'll be 4.
I'm sorry, 4.
Yes.
And they are Mundy, Sosar,
Mope,
and
Gavio.
Gavio. So they'll vote for the next council person. Correct. And how long will that council person be on for?
They'll finish out the remainder of my term, which is additional 2 years.
Okay. And so you're set with that council. So if they decide to put a person on who is not thinking the way you think, you're going to have a problem.
They'll have supermajority against me if they all collaborate together. Then I'll have a problem because they would have overriding veto power.
Okay. So here's my concern. My concern would be if you are voted mayor by 49 or 48%, meaning the public said, Jeff, I know I'm being redundant, but I want to make a point here. We like your ideas. We like what you're doing. If council comes out and objects to those areas, so what they're really saying is, we don't really care about what the majority of people are saying. This is what we're going to do. Now, I'm not saying they'll do that, but if I voted for you because of your ideas and what you want to do, and I'm a council member saying, well, we're not going to go along with that, don't you think there's a problem here?
I would like them to go along with me, but the voters also voted for them on their issues. So the voters voted for the council members, the voters voted for me. So it's going to be up to us to work together and try to get along and move the city forward. I would love for them council members to, say, yeah, that's a great idea, let's move forward, But that's obviously, it's not going to happen, if you look at what happened last year with a lot of the ideas I brought forward. But, it's like I said, people voted those council members in also. So they had to believe in what they said. And most of them said they're going to work with the mayor. They're going to help, raise revenue and make the streets safe again, fix the potholes, all the issues that concern the citizens. They said they were going to take care of. So I'm hoping that they hold their word, I'll hold my word, and we're going to move together forward.
Jeff, safety today, the people are very much concerned about safety. When you deal, if you're internally and you know what the budget is, when you look at the streets department and what they're involved with and what they're doing, with all due respect to all those people who are working in the streets department, Vito, who is doing an exemplary job, I think, considering the fact that he has a budget that he's trying to work with. Our police chief, Frank DeAndrea, who's been on the show a number of times, working with a force that is scarce, needs more cops, et cetera, et cetera. I think we've been very fortunate in those two areas. And I have a building here. I've invested in Hazleton. I believe in Hazleton. So I'm not just talking from a person out of town saying, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm here, okay? The Lesante family is here. We're not out of town with communications that, bringing nonsense. I'm saying we're here. Do you think that council is going to be supportive with the streets department and the police department? Or will we have political games?
Well, during the first reading of the budget, the money to support both of those people, Frank Vito and Frank DeAndrea, was removed by council. So right now, there's no money to fund a streets foreman or a chief of police.
So why do you think that is?
I think they want a change. The council wants to run the city from the legislative branch of government.
So they think Frank's not doing a job, and both Franks are not doing jobs, or what?
I would assume that by the actions that were taken. I mean, they removed the money from...
It's amazing, not to interrupt, it's amazing to me how people who are not in specific positions, I'm not a police person, I'm not in what Frank DeAndrea does, and I wouldn't want Frank Vito's job, and I think he's doing a great job at it. And it's amazing how the political people would come in and say, for our own political benefits, etc., did they come up with a solution? If they're going to pull money from Frank Vito and Frank DeAndrea, they say, well, this is what we replaced them with.
Well, I believe their thought process was, if I remove the chief of police to hire someone from within the police department and bump them up, that it wouldn't cost the city any more money. But I believe it's going to cost us, it would cost us more because of the contract to that officer. They would get an increase in their salary. Plus, it would hurt us for the next 40 years with their pension cost, because now they're going to, the cost of the increase in the pension. With, I believe, the same thing. And it also would take an officer off the street, at least one, because you're going to bump the guy up. So you're losing at least one more officer. In the street department, I believe they're doing the same thing with Frankie Vito. They want to remove him and bump somebody up from inside, which the foreman is a non-working position. So that's going to take one more person off the streets, which could put us under the minimal manning to run the paving machines. So if we can't meet minimum manning for the paving machines,
so
then we may have to outsource.
Yeah.
That kind of, and it's just a trickle-down effect.
Yeah. So you're saying get rid of Frank DeAndrea and bring someone else, and they're going to missing another cop.
They would have to cut
and
one.
Get rid of Frank Vito and bring another person up. And believe me when I tell you, our police department and our streets department, no matter who goes in there, I think would be, great. But however, when you look at the two successes we have right now, in my opinion, based on fact, not just liking a person. Liking is one thing, but being credible and doing your job for the citizens, I think Frank DeAndrea has done an exemplary job as chief. I think Frank Vito, I would not want his job, but he's doing a fabulous job with that. To get rid of those people without having equal people to come in with the experience that they have, I don't know if that's a good thing, and I really don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, they're trying to eliminate the position altogether. That's the problem I have. Not to say Frank and Frank, but it's the department head and the chief that they're trying to eliminate and bring up. And the important part is you're cutting somebody else off the bottom. So there's, like I said, you're going to bring one
Are
less.
you for that? Are you for are you for those two moves?
No, because you're taking another officer off the street.
Yeah.
At
So
least one.
As a mayor-elect, if I was a councilman, I would say, you know what? Even though I'm councilman, etc., let me check with the mayor, because the police chief is under your direction, correct?
Correct.
So I would say, well, let me check with the mayor-elect. All due respect to him, you know, this is what we want to do. Did they come and say to you, Mayor-elect Cusat, we want to make a position here change with Frank DeAndrea and Frank Vito. Do you think this is a good thing?
Well, they don't really have the right to tell me what to do with the personnel. They can make the budget and tell me how to spend the money.
Have they asked you, have they come
No.
to, okay. So therefore,
But that was the way that the budget was balanced. Nobody wants a tax increase.
Yeah.
But to balance the budget by eliminating your chief of police, your foreman, cutting the salaries of the mayor's assistant, the person.
I'll show you, Cusat. You won, and I'm going to fix your boots, right? And this is the type of nonsense we've had in the city of Hazleton for so many years that the citizens of Hazleton are so disgusted with that we, you know, with all due respect to all the council people, I don't understand for one bit why we don't look at things on a different basis as to what is right for us, not a political ideological. I have a friend of mine who is a liberal Democrat and who hates Republicans. Now, no matter who it is, he hates them. And I have a friend of mine who's a Republican who hates Democrats, which is sad. Jeff, it's sad. We have to look at what's best for the city of Hazleton. We're looking at a town that's growing. We're looking at a downtown that we're trying to develop, which we are developing. And yet, we have people in City Hall that are making a continuous agenda for their only political reasons. And I don't think that's right.
Well, it's not right. I can't speak for what the reason somebody else is doing something. I mean, it's bad to have a budget that's balanced with revenue that cannot be obtained and making cuts to personnel. I mean, it's obviously it's going to fail, just like it has this year. I mean, like I said, this year we're going to end up $500,000 to $600,000 in the hole, and we're setting ourselves up to be $1 million short for next year. So if you look forward, there's going to be a huge gap in the 17 budget. I mean, you got to look forward. I mean, if it's 500 and 1.1 next year, we're talking 1.6 the year after. And that's the problem that the city always was in, is you're playing from behind. You know, we never had a solid revenue stream that each year would be balanced.
Before I go to break, so if I said to you, Jeff Cusat, you're the newly elected mayor, you do what you have to do. I'll support you, what you have to do, because you're thinking that we could straighten the city out financially. Would you be accommodating for that?
Sure. I would love to be able to do what I think is the right way to do it.
That's why they voted you mayor.
Yes.
Folks, I'm talking to Jeff Cusat. Tough situation next year. You know, folks, I know all the people on council, and they're all great people. There are a lot of people in this town that are paying taxes, that are concerned about what's happening to the city of Hazleton. Crime is one thing. And when you look at our police department, and when you look at what they're doing and the calls that they've had, it's amazing. When you look at our streets and the fact that we have a limited budget and you have people who are working as hard as they can, the entire streets department, doing what they have to do, it's amazing because they don't have the money. Money is everything. As Joe Unizzi said, money makes things happen. And so Jeff Cusat has a challenge. The point is, will he be able to do what he said he was going to do as mayor? We'll be back right after this. Thanks for staying with us, folks. You're watching the Sam Lesante Show. Remember, 24/7, SSPTV.com. All of our shows are there. And remember, we're on HD now, folks. Channel 513 if you have HD on your TV. And plus Channel 13 in the Mountaintop area, Channel 92, 190 in Pottsville, 69 in Allentown, in the Bethlehem Easton area, in Philadelphia, WTVE, and soon to be in Lackawanna County starting in January. My guest today, My email, sam@ssptv.com. My guest today is Jeff Cusat, newly elected mayor of Hazleton. A great challenge he has ahead of him. You know, Jeff, as you've been on the show a number of times, you've been able to present some of your ideas, and hopefully, you know, the council will give you the opportunity of working with that. But you mentioned about City Hall open 24/7. Your idea on that was what?
I'd like to have people to have access to the police department 24/7, where you could just walk up to the police department, back, you know, and they'll come in the door, knock on the window, and somebody could help you right there. I think it's important for the communication with from city directly to the police department.
Code. What are we doing with code?
The code, I would like to get the code office open earlier and stay open later. I'm hoping that I can get 7 days a week at 7 a.m. and hopefully stay open until 7 p.m. I think a lot of people go out to work early. They should have the right and the chance, the opportunity to get a permit before going out to work, and then instead of stopping in the middle of a project to go back and get one. If they have any questions, I just think there needs to be more accessibility to the City Hall.
How available are you going to be to the city council members?
Yeah, I'm available. Every one of them has my cell phone number, my email. They all know where I live, where I'll be. I'm not too hard to find.
So Jeff Cusat, you're telling me on the Sam Lesante show that each councilman has a council person has an opportunity of getting in touch with you at any point in time.
Sure.
So if I go to a council meeting and you've given the agenda, there should be no surprises. So if I have a correct me if I'm wrong, if you give them agenda and there's a question on that agenda, I should call you and say, Jeff, I have a concern about this, blah, 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 blah. So we don't go to a circus and make, you know, sometimes people like to make, they have their own gathering, their own admiration club that comes to council meetings and, yeah, you're the greatest guy in the world, or a woman. They have the opportunity of calling you and saying, let's discuss this, I have a question with this, correct?
Well, yes, the agenda has to be presented to council members 5 days before the next meeting. So there's a minimum of 5 days to work on an ordinance, ask questions about a resolution. You have at least 5 days. And most of this stuff you hand in, you know, earlier than that. And Lisa, the council clerk, will send it to everybody, you know, as soon as she gets it, so you could start working on.
So is there new business on the agenda?
On every agenda?
Yeah.
Every agenda has new business.
So new business you would not be aware of, or would you be aware of?
No, you're aware of it. 5 days. The whole agenda comes out.
So if there's new business, you know what the new business is?
Yes.
Okay.
5
So
days.
therefore, again, every council person has the opportunity of questioning what's on that agenda.
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have to have surprises at council meetings.
There shouldn't be any changes to the agenda.
Other than people who are in the audience who are plants, as far as I'm
Well,
concerned.
they could ask questions. Yeah. You know, they have time for public comment on the agenda items only prior to the meeting. So then the only thing else that could change is if a council member would ask to suspend the rules of council and add something.
The reason I say that is because before, as local television, I think we're obligated to present to the people both sides. And I've seen the political nonsense that's going on. We don't do the city council members because it turns into a zoo. And people who come in this town and want to invest and want to bring businesses, they look at what council is doing and they say, do we want to go into this town that these people are like wackos at the meetings? Constructive criticism is one thing, okay? So to eliminate the nonsense, constructive questions should always be asked in comments, and I think that's appropriate. To eliminate that, if I have 5 days to review what's on that agenda and any questions I have, in order not to embarrass the city of Hazleton, I should be able to contact you and ask these questions or whatever.
That's the process.
Okay. Because that's a concern we have. I've spoken to many people in Can Do and people who come in to want to place businesses, and they come in and they watch us all the time. Different vice presidents come in, they want to bring a plant or bring business in, and they watch Channel 13 and 513 now, and they look at, you know, our reports, et cetera, and they say, is this a city we want to invest in? Just as we invested in downtown Hazleton. And I think image is important. I think branding is important. And I think before I end, we got a minute and a half. What is your vision for the next 4 years for the city of Hazleton?
Well, I'd like to be a community where people get along and there's places to go. You know, I think the park downtown will be a nice feature. But hopefully get some people walking Alter Street and Wyoming Street again, shopping on Broad Street. You know, just everybody coming together as one instead of the bickering back and forth and who hates their neighbors and who doesn't want to go outside because they're afraid. I mean,
Well, you know what, Jeff, you have a challenge. You know, and
big
Frank
challenge.
DeAndre has been working on that for a long time. In the cops in this area, in our city, I have the greatest admiration for them. I have the greatest admiration for our streets department. They work hard. They're doing the best with the budget they have. Frank is struggling what he has, and these people are overworked. And I think they're doing a fabulous job, Jeff.
If we get the tools and the money to do what we need to do, it's not going to be that hard of a process. It's going to be a long process. It wasn't, you know, overnight that we got into the situation we're in. I mean, it's going to be an 8-10 year project to get the city in a direction that everybody's happy with.
Jeff, I have a lot of faith in you.
Thank you.
I really do. I think if the council puts their heads together and they use all their creative talents in the right way and put their personal agendas aside, I think we'll have a great city. And agree to disagree. Certainly, the debate is a fabulous thing, and you learn a lot from that. I wish you the best. Jeff, you know you're available. You are always welcome to come on the show to present your points, etc., as well as City Council is, okay? Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Jeff Cusat, folks, newly elected mayor of Hazleton. A challenge. Listen, we have a great city, folks. We really do. I know some of you are concerned, especially if you don't live in the town. You're concerned about crime, etc. But when you look at Hazleton and you compare it with cities our size, you're going to find out that we are low in crime. Crime is bad. I understand that. But we're low. And thanks to our police department in all the areas, West Hazleton, Cunningham, Mountain, Butler, Freeland, McAdoo, you name it. I don't want to miss anyone. They're doing an exemplary job, believe me. The Pennsylvania State Police, second to none, folks. Second to none. We'll see you next time.